Hey, I'm back with a special guest to show you guys how to make a background from the last tutorial I made. You want to say anything, or?
We would be honored if you would join us.
It won't take too long, and it's pretty easy, so...
All too easy.
I just said that, I mean, come on, guy. Anyway, I failed to show you guys how to make a background in the last tutorial.
Don't fail me again.
You're not even... Okay, can I just do this intro? Thanks. So again, I apologize for the length of this video, but it shouldn't be a problem, right, DV?
The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Well, I'm not making this for the Emperor, am I? It's for the people that use Anime Studio. I don't even know what you're... Anything you want to say before we get started?
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Whoa, whoa, let's not get this serious now. This is just a tutorial, alright? Let's bring it down a notch. Just take it easy. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, so right now my canvas is 720 by 1280. And I want to make this twice as wide so we can, for this background, we can move the camera around and have a little wiggle room for animation. So I'm going to start off by naming this the background layer. And we'll go up to File and Project Settings and unclick Constrain Portions, and we'll type in 2560. That's going to make the canvas twice as wide. Now, if you're drawing in Anime Studio and you're doing a lot of straight lines for your background or an object like a car, it's best to use the grid tool. Turning it off and on will help a lot. So go ahead and hit Command G, and that brings up the grid. And when I click the Draw Shape tool or hit S, we'll just draw a floor, background piece, and a wall. And I'm going to hit Q, which is the shape select tool. And you just click here, and I'm going to change the fill just so we can distinguish between the wall and the floor right now. And hit Command G to turn off the grid. Anytime you see the grid appearing and reappearing, just know that I'm hitting Command G. And so for the Star Wars background that I created for the last tutorial, I used a couple of reference pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Import Image. And let's go to Star Wars Tutorial 2. And I'm just going to grab one of these pictures and just put it in here just as a reference so I can kind of see the style of what I'm trying to create. So I'm just going to put this up here off the canvas. And now that we have something to start from, I'm going to go ahead, and if you want to pull a color from a picture, all you have to do is hit Q. I'm on the background layer. Select the shape you want to recolor and click the eyedropper tool in the fill and drag it over the picture. And anywhere you let go of your button, it'll just sample that color. So if I unclick, you can see this actually sampled from where I had the eyedropper tool. So just to do that again, I'm going to hit Q, select the shape, click and hold the eyedropper, and then if I were over the lightsaber, it would turn it that color. So that's just how you grab colors from pictures. So now that we have a background, I'm going to keep creating more layers. You can do this all on one layer, but it's easier. I don't really like drawing backgrounds in Anime Studio. I'd prefer to do them in Illustrator. They have a lot more tools that make the creation process faster. But in this case, I want to show you guys how to do this in Anime Studio. So we're going to create another vector layer. We'll call this one Window. And I'm going to turn the grid on again. And this is the other thing I don't like about Anime Studio. It's hard to see with the grid lines so thick. But we're going to draw another shape, so I'm going to hit S. I'm going to change the fill color to something a little brighter so we can see it. I'll just draw a square and hitting A to add points. It's this button right here. We'll just draw out a window, just like it looks kind of like the window in the reference photo. And, oops, let's draw that like that, that. I think that's even. 3 squares down. Oops. Let's see, 3 across. Just trying to make it even. And 3, 3, 3. Okay, I think that's all good. Yep. So that's the reason I used the grid, so I could make it nice and symmetrical. And then I'm also going to draw actually another one. Turn that grid back on. I'm going to draw another shape. Hit Q, select inside, change the fill a little bit. I'm just going to make that dark or darker. Hit A, add some more points, and move those around. Let's move this. Oops. This is just going to be kind of outcropping, I guess you could call it, for the window. Just make it look more 3D. And that. And yeah. Is that even? No. That and there. Okay. Command G, get rid of the grid for a second. So that's what I wanted. I wanted kind of inset for the window. Then I'm going to hit S again for another shape. Just going to draw some details, some random squares. Command C to copy, Command V to paste. I'm holding Shift down and just dragging the copy right there. And Command paste again to grab another one. And I'll just bring it down here. I'm going to hit T and click on this point, hold Shift down and select the other point. Maybe. Why can't I select both? Oh, G. Hold G or click G and then hold Shift to select both of those points. And then hit T to transform them, and then we'll just move these over. Hit T again. And I'm just going to manually move these now. Make them look somewhat decent. Just adding detail. Yeah, that looks off. That's close enough. For the tutorial, it is anyway. Hit T. I'm going to select this shape, and holding Shift, I'll select that, and do a copy paste again. And then I'm going to hit flip horizontally. And with those still selected, I'll just drag them to the other side. And do that. Let's copy and paste one of these again. And move it down here. Rotate it. Copy paste. Hit T, select both of those, copy paste. A lot of copying and pasting going on. But the more detail you add to your backgrounds, the better it looks. Doesn't have to be perfect, just good. Okay, what I did there is I selected all of these, and now I hit Command T, and then I'm just pulling these across so they're kind of even. Okay, and now I'm going to create another vector layer, and we'll call this one lights. One of the features, especially in the Star Wars scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, is these type of grid lights in the background. So an easy way to create these in Anime Studios is to, once again, use the grid, because they're, symmetrical objects. And I'm going to draw a shape again, and I'm going to select white for the fill, and white for the stroke, And I'll go ahead and just zoom in a little bit so I can see the grid. I'll draw a square like that, and then using the circle tool, ellipse tool, whatever you want to call it, we'll draw circles on the ends, and you can see everything just snaps into place and looks good because of the grid being on. So I'll hit T and holding shift select all of those, and to see what we're doing, go ahead and turn off the grid again because we have this nice shape here. Command C, Command V, copy paste, and then I'll hit G and select all of them. Command C, Command V, copy and paste again, move those over, and then with hitting G I'll grab the last one and make one more and just move it over. You could use the grid to space these real evenly, but I don't think it's necessary. It's just for the background. So now we'll grab all of those. I'll hit Command A, and since we're on the lights layer, it won't select anything else. That's another good reason to have separate layers. So Command A, select all, copy paste one more time. We'll move those down like that, and then I'm going to hit G, and we'll go ahead and click and drag over these points here, holding shift down, select these points here, so we're grabbing the ends like that, hitting T, and we'll just go ahead and shift those so it looks more like the reference picture. And that's it for the lights. We'll do a Command A, select all, grab this point here to resize, and you don't have to hold shift down, it'll just constrain the proportions automatically. It's hard getting used to if you've used another program, but you don't have to hold anything down and it'll constrain those. I'm actually going to hit W and just remove the strokes because that looks better. And with everything selected still, I'll hit T, move those over here, and I think you know what I'm going to do now. Command C, Command V, copy and paste the entire thing, move that over, and paste one more time since that's already in the clipboard, like that. Now we have that, and then Command A, select all, copy paste, move those down like that, and they're a lot longer in the picture, so we'll go ahead and select Command A, select all of them, and grab the center point, the bottom of the transform layer, and just pull it. And we'll move it over like that. And then, once again, copy paste, and move some over here. And I think that looks pretty good. Alright. Maybe space this out a little bit more. Hit G and move all of these kind of closer to the window so it's the same width, or I mean it looks more symmetrical. And hit T, and that looks pretty good right there. Okay, and in my last tutorial I put a wall on the edge too, just adds a little bit more detail, makes it more interesting. So we'll do another vector layer, and we'll call this wall. And let's do this over here on the left side of the canvas, and hit Command G again for the grid, and we'll hit S to draw a new shape. Oops, we don't want a circle, we want a square. And actually, let's click on the background for just a second and hit Q, select the wall, and hit copy. That's going to copy the color that we have already in the background. And then go back to wall, hit S, and let's draw a shape. And then I'm going to hit Q and select it and change the color just a little bit. The reason I use the wall color is so that when I change this wall color, it's still going to be matching somewhat, so you don't have to guess colors, but we can see that it's a little different. like that. Let's take the grid off so you can see. It's just a little bit lighter. So with the grid on, we'll hit T and grab just this point here and drag it down to create an angle for the wall. So let's put it right there. And then snap the top so it's parallel, like that. We'll hit S, draw a new shape, hit Q, select the wall again, and then let's make this a little lighter. You just click fill, move the selector just a little bit, and now we have a slightly different color there too. Let's make select Q, and let's make this a little darker actually. Make it match the back a little bit. And the way I did that again is hit Q, select your shape, and then go into the fill, and then you can just move around holding the left mouse button down and kind of just changing that around. Alright, so now we have a wall. That's still, let me make that a little bit more grayish. Gray blue. Cool. So now we have the basics, kind of the big part down of the background. And now all we need to do is add little details. Like I said in the beginning, the more details you add, the better your background looks. So we'll just do one more. We'll just call this details. And I'm just going to, you could use the grid once again to draw these lines, but I'm just going to draw them freehand. We'll click the add point tool, and I'm just going to kind of guess the angle. Looking at this angle right here, I'll just draw a line that way, and then draw a straight line across, draw this down, click here on the line to add a point, and then draw another line straight across. Just kind of do whatever you want. I mean, this is just really random detail. It's just like I'm referring to the picture. You know, there's tiles and just random bits of technology everywhere, so I'm just adding lines in random places, like, and let's see, draw another line there, maybe draw a line here and here, maybe here, just anywhere you want. And then I'm going to do a Command A, select all, hit U, and that's going to, this is the create shape tool, so it's going to highlight all those lines I just drew, and then hit spacebar. And since our stroke's already this light gray, that is just going to change that to all those lines to that. So if I do a Command R and render, you can see we've got all these little lines and stuff here on the floor. And now we'll go ahead and add some other just little bits and bobs. Bobbins? Is that a word? I don't know. Okay. Hit S and create a new shape. We have the square selected, so let's just draw some kind of random thing up here. Window or whatever you want to call it. And then we'll draw some, I don't know, we'll draw a square here. Hit Q, select that, change the color. Make it a little darker, like that. Hit T, select it, copy, paste, move that over, paste again, move that over, hit T, holding shift down, select all three, copy, paste. You can see I really like using copy and paste. It just saves a lot of time in making backgrounds in particular. even with stuff that's not technology based, like squares. I mean, this works good for grass and trees and things like that. Let's see, change this color maybe a little bit. Just a little. Maybe add a control panel right here. Add some circles. And the way I'm doing that, oops, let me zoom in real quick. So if you want to draw a circle and you have the shapes, draw shape tool selected, if you click and drag, it'll go from the top left to the bottom. But if you hold shift and what is that, option, it'll expand out from the center of where you clicked. So it's pretty easy to do. I just drew this first circle and copy and paste, of course. Hit T, select both, copy paste. Then you can come in and just change these buttons by hitting Q, select the color, choose a different color there. You can make a dark yellow, dark red. Trying to keep them kind of gray so it matches the background, but put a little color in. Like that. Maybe not. I don't like that. Let's just change them to gray. So with Q selected, I'm going to select all of those colors and then just change them to dark gray. Going to keep it all dark, I think. And the lines are pretty thick, so I'm going to hit Command A and select everything in the details. Oops. Hit T and then select all. Then hit W and just click and drag to the left, and that's going to change the thickness of your strokes. I'm just going to make them really small. Can't even see them. Render it. I just want to see. Yeah, I like that a lot better, the details. So we'll do the same thing with the other layers. Go into the window or the wall. Select all. Left click and drag, hitting W. And lights don't have any. Window, we'll select all. Command A, W, and just left click and drag. Zoom in. Let's render that. Yeah, that looks much, much better. Okay. And that's, I think, no, that's not it. Let's add some more details. We'll come over here. Let's turn the grid on one more time, and I'm just going to draw some random stuff on this wall. So hitting S, I'll draw a square. And add points. I'll just make some more hexagon shape type things. I'll draw another square in there. What is this? Random dot. Hit S, draw another square. And that looks pretty good, I think. Hit Q. Let's change the interior color a little bit. Add some more squares. Turn the grid off. I'll add a piece of something here. Hitting T and then just grabbing one point. I'm just going to kind of guesstimate on how this will angle. I'm holding shift down to constrain the motion left to right and up and down. And like that. Select all again because those lines are too thick. And oops. See how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Those button looks too big to me. I'm leaving all this in the video just because this is just how the creation process goes. Talking to myself and redoing things. Hit T, select everything, move them around. Let's make this box smaller. That looks pretty good. Okay. And that's pretty much it for, or how I made at least the Star Wars background. I can show you how to make other backgrounds if you want. Just ask. Oh, let's get rid of this screenshot. We don't need that. But I am going to show you one more thing. To add some more detail to this, we'll go ahead and put a picture in the background. So I'm going to import an image. Go to File, Import, Image. And I found this really cool picture of a destroyer, Star Wars destroyer. And I'll just bring that in on the top like that. And let's hide it for just a second and select the window. And then I'm going to hit T and select just this part of the window that we want to see through. And I'm going to copy that. Go back up to the Star Wars destroyer picture and then create a new vector layer, and we'll call this window mask, and we'll go ahead and paste that, and that's going to paste in the exact position that we need. And then what we'll do is select both the window mask and the Star Wars destroyer. Actually put the window mask layer underneath the photo. We'll hit select the picture, hold shift down and select the window mask, and then we'll select group. Okay, and select both of the picture and the mask and drag it into that group, and double click on the folder and click masking, and then click hide all and apply. So basically what we did was we used that shape to mask out the photo in the background. So if we click on the photo, we can readjust it. We can grab the corner, resize it. Let me just move it into position. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Click on that. And then let's close that. And let's select everything now. With the top layer selected, hold shift down and select a background. And don't do group with selection, just do group. Oh. And we didn't have to select those yet. Just select all your layers and then drag it into that new group you made. The reason I did that is so now that it's in that folder, we can just use the transform layer tool so we can pan and scan. Pan and scan, is that right? I don't even know if that's the right term. So we can move the background layer around with the camera and have a lot more movement. So I think now I'm going to go back to the file and project settings. I'm going to change uncheck constrained portions again, change this back to 1280. And we'll move the layer over to the left like that. I'll go down the timeline to 240 and move it over to the right like that. Just so you can see that we have a lot of room for our characters or whatever to move around and play with. So I'll go ahead and render this out. Okay, here's the final render. It's just panning across. And that's it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks.